Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, DB. Let's get into it. Let's talk about one of my favorite topics ever, masturbation. While masturbation is not a dirty word, it's not uncommon to feel shame and guilt when it comes to self-pleasure. This is due to a combination of cultural norms, religious influences, lack of meaningful media representation, harmful myths we all learned in sex ed, and more. But masturbation should be talked about in a positive light, and we should be honest about the very real positive impacts it has for people, especially for women and people with vulvas. That's why I decided to take pleasure into my own hands, figuratively and literally, with a magic wand masturbation experiment. In a nutshell, I wanted to answer one question. What is the impact of daily magic wand use on my health and wellness, as well as my sexual experience, when compared to regular sexual activity and no sexual activity? Want to see how the experiment unfolded? Check out sexedwithdb.com/magicwandexperiment now. I'm about to get personal here, so listen up. I'm going to tell you a fun fact about me that you definitely didn't know. The lube that I use most consistently is Uberlube. I really mean it. If you were here with me right now, I'd tell you to go over to my nightstand drawer and tell me what you see. That's right, you would see a bottle of Uberlube. If you've never heard of Uberlube, let me tell you about it. Uberlube is a silky smooth silicone-based lube recommended by leading doctors, and its body-friendly ingredient list makes it widely used by people with sensitivities to lubricants. Another amazing thing about Uberlube is that it doesn't leave a sticky residue like water-based lubes do. It lasts for a long time and doesn't stain clothing or bedding. I have 3 bottles of Uberlube on my bedside table right now, ready when I need it. If you're someone who wants to feel more pleasure in the bedroom, use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off at Uberlube.com. Trust me, it's amazing. Are you falling into a pattern with your partner? Looking to spice things up but aren't sure how? Me and my partner exit our ordinary with Lion's Den. Lion's Den has hundreds of your favorite brands to help you and your partner reconnect or try something new. From novices to dungeon masters, there are products for every comfort level. With 50 plus years in business, Lion's Den is here to help. Can't make it to a local store? Shop online and chat with a customer service team member while you shop. Lion's Den offers our listeners 15% off in-store and online using code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com.
Hey, I'm Gwenna Lathland, but you probably know me as Mama Cusses on TikTok and Instagram.
And I'm Tori Phantom, also known as Tori Phantom on TikTok and Instagram. And we want to tell you about our brand new podcast, Childproof, from Betches Media.
Parenting is hard, but it's even harder when you feel alone. That's why we created Childproof, a parenting chat show for when you're craving adult conversation and are surrounded by tiny humans.
And on Childproof, we'll try to figure out the do's, don'ts, and what ifs of modern parenthood.
We have been friends for years, so we want to use this show as an opportunity to compare notes, share stories, and grow as parents at the same time.
So tune in every Wednesday as we share our experiences through a mix of one-on-one conversations, guest appearances, and input from you, our listeners.
That's right. You personally, where you are right now, you can be a listener. Subscribe right now wherever you're listening. That's Childproof from Betches Media.
Hello, everybody. It has been a hot sec since I have recorded a more sex ed episode by myself, and we have a really good one today. I feel like I haven't really covered a topic like this before, and we almost have 200 episodes now, so it's kind of rare for me to feel like we get a question and I haven't really seen it before or haven't really taken the time to talk about it at some point in our almost 200 episodes. But let me go ahead and read the question and give you the context that this person said, and then let's talk about it because I think it's really, really fantastic and not really talked about enough. So the question is it normal to want to give head and not receive anything in return? And this person says, I get excited seeing my partner be satisfied by giving him head, but he thinks that it's selfish because I'm not getting anything in return, but I don't see it that way. I do also want him to satisfy me, but sometimes I enjoy just watching him hit an orgasm because of me. Is that normal? Whew, I just love this question so much. It's so good. And I think it speaks to something that is a little nuanced in this conversation around pleasure, which is, first of all, let me give you the answer. Absolutely. This is absolutely normal to be in the mood to give your partner pleasure and not necessarily feel like, oh, it has to be this tit for tat, no pun intended when I said tit for tat thing where if I'm giving you pleasure, you have to give it to me. And that's totally normal. And so I think, let me break down this scenario in this context, right? So this person gets excited seeing their partner be satisfied. And maybe the partner's like, well, I want to give it back to you, this is just gold. Like, I love all things that are going on here. One, you get excited seeing your partner be satisfied. Two, your partner is saying, hey, I want to make sure I give you the pleasure that you need because I want to return the favor. That's amazing. And then also you saying, yes, I sometimes do want my partner to satisfy me, but I also just enjoy seeing him hit the peak of his pleasure. Like, that's awesome. All of these things that are happening are so healthy and so normal. And I think, one of the things that I wanted to really touch on here was that it's really common, I feel, as a sex educator to talk about equity in pleasure giving and receiving, and especially for women, for people with vulvas, for non-binary folks, trans folks who have vulvas, and essentially, like, we're not taught from a young age that our vulvas should be prioritized, right? So I think it's really easy as a sex educator to come in here and be like, make sure you're getting the pleasure that you want, blah, 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 well, not blah, 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 but you know what I mean? Like, it's important to talk about the orgasm gap. It's important to talk about ways in which that we can give ourselves pleasure through masturbation and with partnered sex. But it's equally as important to recognize when you get pleasure from something and get excitement from something, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to mean from your physical body experiencing pleasure. And so in this scenario, you seeing your partner be satisfied, like watching him reach orgasm because of you, can be very pleasurable and very powerful, right? And I think that is such a really critical piece to thinking about all the different parts that pleasure can bring us, not just from our experiences, but watching other people's experiences. And the one episode that comes to mind where we really talk about this is with Goody Howard. And we have an episode that with her, she's incredible, called Blowjobs Are Performance Art. And we talk all about this, right? Like, if you are getting in the zone and you're putting on your music and you're thinking about it as like you're putting on a performance to give this blowjob, then you will feel pleasure and you will feel excited and you will feel like you're experiencing some of the same sensations and excitement and just overwhelm in a good way as your partner who's on the receiving end. And so I really just want to echo everything that Goody says in that episode. And if that sounds like it's interesting to you, pause this episode, or at the end of this episode, go check out the Goody Howard episode, Blowjobs Are Performance Art. But yeah, I think that this is just such an awesome question. And I also want to talk a little bit about BDSM and power play. So stay tuned after the break. Let's talk about lube and condoms. Something important to know is that oil-based lube is not to be used with condoms because the oil can cause the condom to break or tear, which would defeat the purpose of using it. Thank goodness for Uberlube. Uberlube is latex compatible, so it's safe and effective to use with condoms. But wait, there's more. Dispensing 2 drops of Uberlube inside a condom and a measured pump outside will increase pleasure. What are you waiting for? Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off at uberlube.com. Think about your medicine cabinet for a hot second. What's in there? Maybe you have your deodorant, face wash, toothpaste, condoms, Plan B, and a new moisturizer. But what if you added abortion pills or a Plan C, just in case your Plan A and Plan B didn't work or wasn't available? Let me tell you about getting access to abortion pills in advance with Plan C. Go to plancpills.org and select the state or territory that you live in from the drop-down menu. Then look for the Pills in Advance icon by the provider or resource. Plan C shares not only how to get abortion pills in advance by mail in your state, but also real-time abortion care options, as well as info on in-person clinics, hotlines for support, FAQs, and more. Follow them on social media at Plan C Pills and visit plancpills.org to learn more, get abortion pills in advance, and join the movement. Let me tell you about one of my favorite pleasure product retailers out there, Lion's Den. If you haven't heard about Lion's Den before, I can't wait to tell you about them. Lion's Den opened its first retail facility in Columbus, Ohio in 1971. That's right, over 50 years ago. Since then, they've grown to more than 50 outlets throughout the US, building their reputation on high-quality products, low prices, and a knowledgeable sales staff who can help you find the perfect toy. One of the many things I love about Lion's Den is that they advocate for a sex-positive perspective on intimacy and sexual well-being, and strive to break the stereotypes and stigma surrounding sex by providing comprehensive educational resources to empower everyone to enjoy life to the fullest. They are simply amazing. Lucky for you, Lion's Den is giving my listeners an exclusive discount of 15% off your purchase, in-store and online with code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com. What are you waiting for? Get your amazing Lion's Den toy now. Okay, folks, welcome back. So what I really want to also discuss in this context of really getting turned on by your partner getting turned on and not necessarily wanting something in return, sometimes that can be or feel like a kinky way to play with your partner when it comes to power play and different dynamics. So if one of you is more interested in feeling dominant or submissive, or you're switching, or part of that play is you saying like, yes, I want to give you the pleasure, I don't want to receive anything, then that could be a fun way to engage in kink and power play, right? And it's really just like a power exchange, like when one person has more power than the other person. But that's not set in stone. There are many different ways that you're able to engage in that power play. If one person wants to be dominant during one act and the next person wants to the second act, there are so many different ways to engage in that kinky behavior. But I do think that there is something, or not necessarily, but there could be something a little kinky in this scenario, right? Of saying like, I just get so excited by like being in this submissive role and really getting excited to see my partner being turned on, right? And it at the same time doesn't have to be kinky. If it's just something where you're just like, no, this is just giving me joy and happiness and pleasure, and like I don't necessarily feel the need to receive pleasure after I give it or before I give it. That could just be a personal preference. But if you are interested in kind of exploring a little bit more, is that power play interesting to me? Or is, the idea of me kind of begging for pleasure like seem interesting? Like there's so many different ways that we can enact fantasies and different roles that we're playing. And so if you're someone who like really wants to lean into this, maybe give it a try and think through like, oh, like let's play these certain roles. And what would it feel like also to be on the other end? Like, would your partner be interested, since he's clearly interested in giving you something in return? Would he be interested in being that submissive role, right? There's just so many different exciting pieces to this. And then kind of the last thing that I want to mention here is that it is totally normal to just like not really be in the mood to receive an orgasm or to receive pleasure. I think that back to like the orgasm gap thing, I think we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves to say like, well, no, like if I'm gonna give something, then I do want to receive it, or I should be able to really like stand up for myself, or whatever kind of messaging that like we are getting through like important feminist dialogue and rhetoric. But at the same time, like sometimes it can feel a little too much. Like it can put pressure and expectations on us to perform in certain ways, or to feel like we have this need to receive this pleasure because we are told that we need to prioritize it. And so I just completely want to normalize the idea of like, if you're not in the mood, that's okay. And if you are in the mood to give, and that just in and of itself is a gift for you and is exciting, then that's amazing. And I think you should totally lean into that. So that's my spiel for this episode. I really, really appreciate all of you folks for writing in and just being just open to kind of hearing about other people's experiences, because if one person writes in, chances are many other people have had this thought and had this feeling before. And I'm really glad to be able to speak to people's experiences and kind of talk through what people might be thinking or feeling. If you are interested in writing in a question, I would love to hear from you. If you go to our Instagram, go to our link in bio, and if you scroll down on our link tree, it says Ask a Sex Ed Question. It would just be really awesome to get more of these questions. And yeah, we are nearly, through the season. We have a couple episodes left this season. So I'm just so grateful to all of you for tuning in. And yeah, this is so wonderful to be able to talk about really good things that people are experiencing and things that give them pleasure and make them happy. So thank you so much for tuning in. Love you all. Have a great day. Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel. Our producer and communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our producer and communications coordinator is Sadie Leegee. Our marketing coordinator is Kate Fiala. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on Instagram at sexedwithdbpodcast and on TikTok at sexedwithdb. Want to rep us with some brand new Sex Ed with DB merch? Go to sexedwithdb.com/merch to check it out now. See you next time.